Hey there.
Hey there, welcome in. Ah,
Welcome to you too.
glad I could make it today. Almost wasn't able to, but here I am. Things have changed.
Yes. So, where are you at today? You're back in
Oh,
Kentucky,
I'm Florence, Kentucky.
Florence, Kentucky again. I'm
Yeah,
in I'm in Maricopa, Arizona. It's 105 here. How hot is it there?
like probably 90. I'm not. Feels like 100. It's pretty humid.
It
But
feels like it's 88 here, so it's nothing. Nah, 105, no problem at all. Dogs aren't panting, nothing like that. So anyway, we've got we have we're continuing on that phase two of the exit generation exit paths. It's 87 in California. John says, the other John, and so we're going to be talking about phase two talks about allowing the grief, and there's a lot of other emotions that can kind of come up with that. And so tonight we're going to be talking about one of those. We're talking about anger, and one of the things with this, with all of dealing with these types of things that we go through, getting rid of the anger isn't like flipping a switch. You know, it's like it takes work, and you have to make the decision. You have to make the decision to move forward. And so we're going to be bringing some ideas tonight on ways that can help you to do that. And that's one of the things that we do here is we want to bring ideas and tools for you guys that you can have in your toolbox as you're going on your journey, that potentially it can help you through those difficult moments. Any other thoughts, John, before we dive into tonight's topic?
you mentioned a toolbox. There's certain coping skills that we try to give people ideas about, like you said. And like when all you have is a hammer in your toolbox, everything becomes a nail. So this is definitely worth your time and energy and putting in the work. And if you got a notebook, I definitely encourage you to take some notes. Any questions for later, get up on stage and throw them at us. And please like, subscribe, notify, share, all that crazy jazz. We appreciate you. We appreciate you being here, like always. So let's get this party started.
Alrighty. So welcome to Deservingly You. Like we say every week, this is that space where we want to talk honestly about what it takes to rebuild after systems of control, and also how to learn self-led lives. I'm Shannon Avery Briggs. I'm an ex Jehovah's Witness. I'm a certified certified. Boy, I am tongue-tied tonight. I'm a certified transformational resilience coach, co-founder of Luminous Connections and the Exit Generation Movement. And last night we talked about grief and talked about what?
So last week, not last night.
Oh, did I say last night? Oh my goodness. See, I'm just all flabbergasted about this topic tonight. So, okay.
All right.
We talked about giving the grief someplace to go so that it stops being everywhere in our life. And tonight, what we're going to do is a lot of people, especially coming out, experiencing that anger. Sometimes we can end up getting stuck in that too. And it may be waiting for somewhere to go. And you may not even realize that's what's going on. Like I said, we're talking about anger. And, when before it may have even been an anger that you weren't allowed to have. And it may have gotten renamed or reframed and then handed back to you as evidence of a spiritual problem. But tonight, what we want to do is we want to look at it from a different perspective and see if we can come up with some ideas to give that anger someplace real to go.
Thank you, Shannon. And again, welcome in. I'm John Briggs, also a transformational dreams coach and co-founder of Luminous Connections. And yeah, this one's personal for me, definitely. If I'm going to tell you all about it tonight, we'll get into that. But first, I want you to know something. Whatever you walked in here carrying, you're allowed to have it, all of it. So don't be ashamed of it. Just let it hang out.
Yep. Yeah. So we've seen where some of you guys are calling in from. We've got California, we've got Charlotte. I think a couple of places in California. John's in Kentucky. I'm in Arizona. So we're all across the US, and it's warm in most of the places that we're at. So hopefully you guys are staying hydrated and staying cool. So wherever if you're live or on the replay, let us know that you're here. And if this works matters to you, please share, like, and subscribe and hit notify so that you can hear the different topics that are coming up. And also so that other people can hear it, because we know that there's a huge organization, a huge community out there that needs some help as they are exiting this organization. All right, so let's go. We always want to set the space, because this is that space for reflection. We want to try to stay away from the reaction. And so we always encourage you guys to practice curiosity over judgment, and also be aware, especially when it comes to ourselves. We want to be aware over that self-criticism. We want to be looking at what's happening inside of us right now, and being able to identify that can help us to move forward with more clarity. And so feel free to use the chat and to share what stands out and share what surfaces. We will be mentioning the organization a little bit, but that's not what we really want to focus on. We want to focus on what some other aspects of it. So a lot of times when some of these things can come up, we will have the tendency to want to be, just getting all of that out. But let's look for the lessons learned, and look for the curiosity that we can have around these situations.
Yes, definitely. And if something lands tonight, just you don't have words for it. Just notice it. How it resonates in your body, and if listening is all you can do, that's excellent. But, that's participation as well, and that definitely counts. Let it sink in. This is about you, right? Not where you've been so much, but how you're meeting yourself right now. All right, so let's get started.
Alrighty, so quick orientation, like I said before we brought up the slides, we're in phase 2 of the exit paths roadmap, and that's the piece about allow the grief. Now, we started with grace, and then we talked about what we actually lost. And last week we talked about that space where grief can go to, so that it's not leaking everywhere. And then tonight is what happens when one of those emotions didn't get to be what it was, and it got renamed, but before it ever had a chance to move through us.
Absolutely. Sometimes anger is the one that got renamed, right? The hardest. And tonight we look at what it can cost you and what you can do with it now.
Yep. So let us know in the chat if this is resonating, and if this seems like the right topic and stuff too, because that helps us. When you guys give us feedback, helps us to be able to make sure that we're meeting your guys' needs. So there's 2 versions of anger that we want to share tonight. The first one is what you were taught, that it was dangerous or rebellious. If you were angry, then you were spiritually weak. And also, you experienced something, and it may have been something that you needed to confess or suppress or pray away. And if you felt it, If you felt that anger, then something was wrong with you. And if you showed it, then you were a threat to the group. So it had to go. We weren't allowed to be able to have that. And so that's the version of anger that got installed.
Absolutely. And there's also what anger actually is. It's just an information signal, what you could say, energy asking for something real, safety, truth, a boundary that should have been there all along, and a sane response to a system that just wasn't quite right. Something that belongs to you. And tonight we're working with the second one, not the version they gave you, the real one.
Yeah. So I thought I'd start with in addition to one of the stories that we've told you. So we've told you about losing Tomas. And what I'm going to tell, when I tell you the story, I'm telling it to you for the context. But I want you to pay attention to what happened to me, because, like, this could end up turning into a moment where we don't focus on the point. And when we do that, we can actually miss it. So when Tomas died, our son, my stepson, John's son, the congregation went quiet. And John had received a call from an elder who was telling him about the man who had married us, that he had passed away. And then John told him that Tomas had been murdered. And the response was, well, I'm so sorry to hear that. And around that same time, I got that lovely, regular email asking me to submit my field service time. And I let him know that I didn't have any and that our son had died. And the response that I got was, I'm sorry to hear that. And that was the last that we truly heard from the elders. There was an older woman in the congregation that had noticed, and she actually went back to that original elder that had called John and told him that we needed support. And he told her that it had all been taken care of. And that was a lie. John got one call in passing. And we did receive a card from one of the other elders' wives. But then months later, close to a year, another woman found out about us losing Tomas and was really shocked. She had no idea that had happened. So if we go back to what I experienced, what ended up happening with me was, what came flooding back was every time the superficiality had shown up. Being told at the beginning of my second divorce, well, you've been through worse. And then watching an elder not show up when my mother was in the hospital, and until he had been scolded by another elder to do so. So when he showed up, I was really disappointed. Now, the grief from Tomas didn't have anywhere to go, so it ended up going someplace else. It hardened inside me. Like I said, that I'm sorry to hear that became silence. So that community care that we all kind of expected, and it ended up being outsourced to rumors and late condolences. But one of the things that it did was it also reactivated those old wounds that I had experienced, that superficiality, the minimization, and that delayed duty by the leaders. And so what ended up happening then was that anger that I held on to became calcified, and it turned into bitterness and also distance. So that bitterness started making me focus on areas of other pain and resentments in my past. And that's not the type of person that I wanted to be. Yeah, it was absolutely okay to be angry, but where I was holding it wasn't healthy for me. And so, by it wasn't until later, that because of the work that we ended up doing, that I was able to recognize this. But it was really important for me to pay attention and to recognize that it wasn't healthy for me to hold on to. So here's what I invite you to consider. The anger doesn't disappear just because you aren't allowed to feel it. It can end up going elsewhere. And for a lot of us, it could be one of these four things. There's more, but these are the four examples. So bitterness, distance, cynicism, and numbness. And bitterness, you can, when I thought back about the situation that I went through when I experienced with losing Tomas, it was like it became that poker stick that just kept that fire going and ended up enhancing that original feeling rather than having me work through it. And you're not just, it's not about just even feeling the anger anymore and you're done. But when that bitterness starts driving those decisions, you may not like where you end up.
Yeah, and distance is what happens when you pull away before anyone can actually fail you again. And it's kind of a protection in a way. It looks like independence, so to speak, but it may be avoidance and anger that never got dealt with, kind of wearing a different outfit, so to speak. And cynicism is the scar that keeps you from trusting anything new, right? Again, it started maybe possibly as a reasonable response to being let down, and then it stayed, and now it's blocking everything. Okay, not just the people who hurt you, but everything.
Yeah. And then what ends up happening, after that, after the cynicism runs out, is we may start experiencing numbness. That in a sense our system is powering down and anger can't move, and sometimes nothing can. It doesn't. The other thing too is like it doesn't respond to any logic. So one of the things, like we've said a couple of times already, is your anger is valid, every bit of it. But the goal isn't to erase it. It's to transition into solution-based action. And so that's the idea. That's part of the idea that we're bringing forward tonight. So when anger surfaces, and it's going to, here's an idea that you can try. This is it's a 3 steps and something that we can practice. And the first one is that pause. So before anything else, we want to stop. We want to breathe. Make sure that you've dropped your shoulders. And one of the things that we talk about, we actually talk about this in the breakouts, is how our nervous systems need a moment to downshift. And so this pause, and I want you to hear this, it's not in a passive way. It's actually one of the most powerful things that you can do. This is where your agency lives. Because when we were within the high controlled environment, somebody else may have decided how we responded, or what was okay, how we responded. But now that we're no longer in that high control environment, that gap between the feeling and the action, that space, that belongs to you. And it may feel new, and it also matters.
And the second step there you can see is wonder. Not worry, wonder. Okay. So ask yourself, is this anger, or is this anger from right now? And or is it an install? Or is it anger at someone I was never allowed to direct it out in the first place? So that third one is the one most people in this room may be sitting with, because a lot of this anger doesn't have a target that can actually be reached. The people who caused it are either gone, okay, still inside, or just have completely shut you out. You can't send it where it belongs, so to speak. And so the wonder step is about getting honest about where it's actually from. And not all anger belongs to the present moment. Some of it has been waiting for a long time in order to be channeled in a certain direction.
And so then the third step of this idea that we're presenting is to choose. And this one we'll spend a minute on, because in the past, somebody else may have had you make the choice. They may have made the choice for you, actually. And you were supposed to respond in the way that they expected. What was that acceptable reaction? How long you were, how long you were allowed to feel something before you were expected to move on. So when we're no longer in that environment, that's gone. And that means for the first time, this choice is actually yours. It's not a small thing. It's everything. And so the question isn't, how do I make this stop? But instead, if we were to ask ourselves, how would my highest self respond in a way that I'm proud of later? And I'll say that again. How would my highest self respond in a way that I'm proud of later? And what self-led action honors this anger without contact or without reacting, without the word that's come to mind is attacking, going after the person, what some of the things that we can do, and we're going to go into those next, but truth on paper, we can use movement, we can set boundaries. You don't need to be the person who caused it in the room to make that choice. No matter what, that choice is yours. And that's what being self-led, as we start doing this and practicing this more and more, that's what that looks like. So let's get a little bit more specific. Like I said, these are some different ideas. It's kind of a menu in a sense, because our anger needs to move through you and not be swallowed up and be stuck. We talked last night about, last week, I keep saying last night, we talked last week about what can happen, when emotions get stuck. And these are 5 different ideas that can help us let it move without harm. It's whichever one sounds appealing to you. Now, this first one is like a 10-minute session. And what we do is we open it with intention. You can set a timer and then get curious. Ask your anger what it's trying to tell you and take the notes. Here's the key, though, is not to edit it. And then before the timer closes, see if there is one solution-based idea that surfaces. And then whatever you're writing this on, close that notebook. And this session has a beginning and an end. You're not staying in that interaction with that anger forever.
Then the anger letter is exactly what it sounds like. Pen to paper or a screen, whatever that looks like for you, whatever works. Say everything. Don't send it. Point is movement, okay, not delivery. And a walk, just kind of a walk with one truth is one that I come back to myself. And the truth, and just choosing one honest sentence. Okay, something true about what you're feeling or who you are. And just let it move with you. Let your body carry what your mind has kind of been managing. If I had that after Tomas, I think I would have walked with, this was not okay, and that's it. And short enough to carry, just true enough to land.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to the anger letter for a minute too before we go into the last two, because I know I did this a couple of times this last year, where I started writing out. I wrote the letter to there were a few people, a couple of different situations, and I ended up writing that letter, and it helped so much. A couple of things is that it helped me say and identify too what I was angry about, so that I could get clearer, and even it helped me decide what next steps I wanted to do with that relationship. And another one that I did actually helped me set a boundary. And so writing that out, writing those letters definitely helped me to work through that anger, so that it wasn't sitting and mulling and bringing on, whether, it can end up bringing on even depression. All those emotions can go up and down. And I didn't want to sit with that, like I said. And so that anger letter is one that I use on a regular basis. Another thing that can help us is movement, that helps us to discharge that anger. And this is like that intentional physical movement. And this isn't directed at anybody. It's something that can help the energy actually leave our body rather than loop it within us. So, it may be something like kickboxing or punching I don't remember what those are called, Johnny. The big old things that Tomas used to hit.
The body bag or the speed bag?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it could be something like that. It could be running. It could be even just walking. But having that physical movement, that can help with releasing that energy, so that we're not having that anger loop continuously. And another powerful tool that I know both Johnny and I have used on a regular basis is meditation or breath work. We actually usually practice those together, and we might be I'm typically sitting down when I do it, but the thing with it, especially when you're angry, is breathing into where you feel that anger in your body. Do you feel it in your gut? Do you feel it in your chest? Do you feel it in your throat? And let that breath move through it, in and out through you, and encourage that release. You can tell your body release. And in fact, our mentor, Brendan Burchard, he actually has a release meditation video. You can do a search on it on YouTube. And that's a great place to start if you've never done it or don't know where to begin. Super, super simple. But anyway, these are just a few ideas that can help you, especially if anger is right there, to help get it moving. Looking forward to hearing which one would appeal to you guys. All right, turn it over to you, Mr. John Briggs.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just looking at it here, that slide. And I want to tell you about Kelsey. All right. She's the one that caused Tomas's death intentionally. Okay. So And Tomas's mother, my ex Shannon,
the other Shannon.
yeah, my ex-wife. Well, too much information there, but we'll just we'll move on. She knew it. She absolutely knew it from the get. And I wasn't right on board with that. I was in shock. I was just like, I didn't just automatically believe it because she said it. But and when it became real, the hate was real too in my heart. And I was like, wow, mother's tuition is just incredible. And it made sense. And I'm not going to tell you how I handled it well, or that I did handle it well right away, because I didn't. Okay. But at some point, I had to ask myself, what was I going to do with it now that I'm carrying it and it's here? I recognized it in my heart and my whole body. Because carrying the hate wasn't hurting Kelsey. Okay, it was hurting me and everybody around me. You know, the energy was just incredibly negative and toxic. I didn't recognize it right away, but definitely wasn't bringing Tomas back. So the shift wasn't about her. It was about what I was willing to carry. Right, pack around like a freaking 50-pound backpack, you know, on my back full of rocks. So, although my past with AA and NA 12-step goes back almost 40 years, I wasn't real consistent. I hadn't been to a meeting in years. But shortly after that, I started showing up on. Well, I wasn't regular for a long time, but after that, I started becoming regular again with that. Not because somebody told me I should do it or that I needed to do it, but because I needed the anger to go somewhere, and that actually meant something. And so serving others gave it a purpose, gave it a direction, somewhere I could channel it, and something shifted. Okay, I mean, without even trying, I should say, is what I'm trying to say. And see, when you can find something to be grateful for, genuinely grateful for, it's hard to stay. It's been my experience personally that it's impossible to continue to suffer when you can find something to be grateful for in the situation. And that, not grateful for the event, I'm grateful for the opportunities that it presented to me. Which means, you know, my relationship with Tomas's mother was a complete 180. I got my daughter back because of it. That relationship began to heal. I just became a better person all around. It humbled me to the core. And what I gained was worth more than what I could let go of. I didn't know that going in, but I know it now. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Johnny. I know it's tough to talk about, but that's also what becomes possible on the other side of that choice. And as you can see, the loss, it doesn't get smaller, but you work at stop letting it be the only thing. You know, because, you know, we had not had a relationship with John's daughter, you know, in several years before all of this happened. And so it actually gave us the opportunity to be able to heal some of those wounds as well. That's tough. I'm sorry that one was tough on you, Johnny.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It never goes, and you never get over it.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. I want to touch on a couple of the comments. So, Natalia brought out that she was angry for years until she chose to give herself peace. And so, that's what we're talking about is choosing. And and John, I'm not sure if that was a question, the anger or the feeling as betrayed by the organization. I'm not quite sure if that was an anger or a question or a statement. And yes, Linda, the Shake It Out, that's a perfect song to do that. So definitely. Okay, so that's been a little bit heavy. Sorry about it being a little bit heavy. Like it was, we knew that it was going to be a tough one because of the topic, that we're touching on. And this path isn't easy, to move forward. But this is the opportunity to, if you guys would like to come on and share a thought or an idea of, an aha moment, that, maybe one of the menu items that you think that you'll try in the next, in the next month, the next week or whatever, we'd love to hear, some of those ideas. If you got one that we could add to there, that'd be great too. So, so the link is on there if you'd like to join us. We'll give a couple of seconds. Are you how you doing, Johnny?
I'm okay.
Okay, good.
I'm good. I just, give everybody some time to wrap their head around that. But if it's not where you're at tonight, it's not a big deal. It's okay. We just appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
And listening and taking this all in and just showing up is the work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, John said it was a statement too. The anger or the feeling is betrayed by the organization. Yeah. One of the things that really stood out to me, because John and I were part, of the sentencing too. And that was one of the things that he had talked about. I could feel that the anger towards her wasn't there. It doesn't mean that, like you said, that all of the pain and stuff is gone, but he was no longer carrying the anger towards her.
And at that point, the anger came and left rather quickly. It was an initial reaction, and I noticed it as such. But then it just came down to the fact that my son was gone. It didn't matter how. Mm-hmm. He just wasn't no longer there.
One of the things too that I want to say in regards to the bitterness, remember the part of the story that I shared earlier, like with the bitterness. So one of the things that if we don't have a space for this and we don't have something to work through, one of the things that ended up happening along my journey though was that bitterness got blamed for why I ended up leaving the organization. That was one of the things that my family was like, oh, well, she's leaving because she's bitter, and instead of really recognizing that we had done our research and made that actual decision to not continue. And so being clear on and identifying and being able to work through that, instead of having the, it got misrepresented. All right, we got Linda, John.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, Linda.
Yeah, anger, having some place to place anger, it's really helpful because carrying it is so toxic. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you're still talking about honoring it. So I appreciate that too.
Is that a new idea to honor it?
No, but it's just speaking it out or seeing it in writing or something. I don't know what it is. It just feels breakthrough like today to me, you know. It feels like another level of that because I'm very, very much about things are worth mourning over. Even leaving a toxic relationship, it's okay to mourn over things that you choose to leave, even if they're toxic. And holding on to that anger is what, you know, can make us ill and everything. So having a place to put it, like you've been talking about, containers, you know, last week, it's just helpful to think of it as this doesn't have to continue to oppress me.
Yeah.
If I have a place to put it and to even get it out, like you were talking about journaling. So I can't stand to journal. So what I'll do is I speak to my phone and it writes it out to me. But just getting to do that is very helpful to me. That's kind of my way of journaling.
Yeah.
And like you said, it helps you figure out what exactly is bothering you and helps you know what are the best steps to take next. So it really does help, you know, get for us to reflect rather than in the moment react. You know, I'm sorry, somebody's killed my kid. It's, I mean, I don't even know. I like you. They they wouldn't even, you know, in my head they won't see a courtroom, and you know, I got the shovel and all. That's just where my head goes right away, right?
Hey, you know what? Not too many years ago, given the opportunity, that would have been
Yeah,
my
yeah.
reaction as well.
Yeah.
And it's instinctual, and yet at the same time, just you know, I've heard you share this a few times, and the way you continue to be vulnerable with us through this story is, I'm very thankful for that. That
Oh,
it
And
is,
thank
it, you know, it is still mourn worthy. You know, at times it's going to come up, and you don't just like hold it back like you think you have to or something. And then again, you're a man, right? Men don't cry and all that crap. You're just, you know, thank you just for being human with us.
Oh, you're very welcome.
yeah.
I appreciate. I'm able to do that today instead of suppressed all those emotions and things.
Yeah,
Well, and you touched on something, Linda, too, where you talked about, you know, especially if we don't if we don't figure out what to do with the anger, we can end up having that reaction. And
yeah,
more times than not, by the time that reaction is done, it's something that we are not proud of.
exactly.
And so that's what we were talking about earlier when we talk about, you know, choosing something, making that choice that the future us would be proud of.
Hmm.
And
Rather
so,
than reacting in the moment,
yep,
taking
exactly.
that deep breath, stepping back. Yes,
Exactly. So I love that. I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate both of you. Thank you.
Well,
By the way,
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow morning I'm going to my middle daughter's 6-year anniversary of AA. So I am stoked on that.
oh, nice.
I just wanted to share
That,
that.
Other
Thank you.
congratulations for me. From
Yeah,
me.
from both of us.
I
Yeah,
will. I will
congratulations.
tell her. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Linda.
All right. So back to um, so Monday night, what we do. So that's you know, we shared about anger tonight and stuff. So tomorrow night, what we do is we actually go deeper inside the Exit Generation on Facebook. That's a group that we've got on Facebook. It's at 4 o'clock Pacific and 7 Eastern. Now the questions on the slide are the ones that will go over and talk, and this gives you the opportunity to do a couple of different things. it gives you kind of a guideline to get curious about yourself, and also for you to be able to start speaking your truth to other people in a safe environment that people support you. The other thing is that we learn from one another, and we can say, "Oh yes, that's where that's a really good idea," or "I can resonate with that. I learned something from that." We've seen that in the sessions that we've done that. It's where we can, in a sense, hold that space for each other. And we'd love to have anybody that's here on the show. We'd love to have you join us.
And if you're not in the group yet, you can find that description, or the link is in the description, I should say. So just come find us.
Yeah. Or you can do a search on Facebook. So like we said, it's the same time as this show, except for on Mondays. And we do that every Monday. So every time we bring a topic for ideas, then we bring up a handful of questions to share in discussion. And it's been really, really powerful. Okay, so next week we keep going in phase 2. And this is going to be, it seems like John is just kind of leading us through this. So when the tears finally come, and what that sadness might be telling you. So we've talked about what grief becomes when it hardens. And so now we get to talk about what happens when it softens. When those tears come, it's not weakness. Like Linda was saying, a lot of times men, they don't think that they can cry. They don't think that they can drop those tears. But we can start looking at what sadness actually sounds like after years of suppressing it. So please come back for that episode.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. And this one's going to be different. It'll be quieter, maybe, but just as necessary. So we'll see you there.
Yeah. Okay. We always have a quote before we go. So I want you to think about this one, as carry this with you. Your highest self doesn't bury anger. It directs it towards better choices.
And the directs it part, that's the one. Take a breath with that. Let it sink in.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that anger is part of a process, the grieving process. So I knew that from the get. I've done that for a long time. And if you suppress that, you kind of just put a wall there in the whole process. So you can carry that forever without getting through it. That just came to mind.
Thanks. That was good.
Well, you showed up tonight, and that's half the work. That is the work. So whatever this week took out of you, however heavy you walked in here, you came. That matters more than you know.
Yep. So a few ways to stay connected right there. The community that. So we've got the website, the exitgeneration.org, where you can learn more about all that's involved with that. And there's the link to the Facebook group on there as well. You can also see the Paths Exit workbook that you can download at no cost. And it kind of, you go through like some questions, and it can help you identify like where you're at on the overall journey. If you'd like to support the show, that's at ko-fi.com/deservinglyu. Every bit helps us keep showing up. And as a reminder again, our Monday breakout inside the Exit Generation on Facebook, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. That's where those conversations continue, and it can help us to work through some of this stuff without. We can look at ourselves and help ourselves become more self-led. Oh, thank you, John, for saying thank you. We appreciate you.
Well, that's what we got for you tonight. Thank you for being here.
And thank you for trusting us with this space. And whatever you carried in here tonight, and if it's helpful, please like, subscribe, hit notify. Come find us inside the Exit Generation, and we will see you all next week.